On the Sussex coast in the spring of 1924, there stood a lonely bungalow near a stretch of shingle known as the Crumbles. It was the kind of place that seemed made for privacy: sea wind, empty shoreline, few neighbors. And in that quiet setting, a woman named Emily Beilby Kaye arrived, believing she was on the edge of a new life. Instead, she stepped into one of the most notorious British murder cases of the interwar years. This was not simply a story about a crime scene. It was a story about deception, appearance, and the dangerous gap between the life someone promises and the life they are actually living. By the time police had finished tracing letters, railway movements, luggage, and witness accounts, the case had grown far beyond one missing woman. It became a national sensation, discussed in court, in newspapers, and in homes across Britain. In 1924, England was still adjusting to the social changes of the post-war period. London offices were full of typists, clerks, salesmen, and secretaries building modern working lives. Resorts along the Sussex coast drew visitors hoping for rest or escape. Respectability still mattered deeply. A person's manner, dress, and occupation could open doors and inspire trust. That matters here, because Patrick Mahon presented himself as exactly the sort of man many people would not immediately fear. Emily Kaye was a working woman living in London, described in contemporary reporting as capable, self-supporting, and serious about her future. Mahon was a married salesman. He had also used aliases, including Derek Patterson, and he concealed important parts of his life. The two became involved. According to the prosecution case later presented in court, Emily believed the relationship was leading toward marriage and a shared future. She appears to have believed they might leave England behind and begin again elsewhere, with South Africa often mentioned in the plans discussed around the case. That dream shaped her choices. Letters and testimony suggested she had spoken hopefully about what lay ahead. She made plans. She trusted the man beside her. And that is what gives this case much of its emotional weight even now. Emily Kaye did not go to Sussex expecting danger. She went there expecting a beginning. Mahon rented a bungalow called Officer's House near Eastbourne, close to the Crumbles, under an assumed name. That detail later mattered greatly. To prosecutors, it suggested planning and concealment. To the defense, other explanations were attempted, but the use of aliases would become one of many facts the jury had to consider. Emily traveled to Eastbourne, and Mahon joined her there. For a short time, the bungalow represented the private world the pair were supposed to be building. What happened next became the central question of the trial. Emily Kaye was never seen alive again after that period. Mahon later gave differing explanations to investigators and at trial. He did not deny that Emily had died while with him, but he disputed murder and tried to frame her death as accidental. That distinction became the heart of the courtroom battle. The prosecution argued that the death was deliberate and that the surrounding evidence showed preparation and intent. The defense urged the jury to believe that death had occurred during a struggle, and that later acts, however shocking, did not prove deliberate murder. But before that argument played out in court, police first had to uncover what had happened. The break in the case came in London, and it came through luggage. On 2nd May 1924, Mahon was arrested at Waterloo Station. Contemporary and official records place him there, after he attempted to reclaim a Gladstone bag from the station. What drew attention was not simply the bag itself, but what it contained, and where that discovery led investigators next. The contents raised immediate suspicion, and Mahon was taken in for questioning. That moment turned a troubling situation into a full murder inquiry. From there, detectives moved quickly. Mahon was questioned, and police went to Sussex. At Officer's House, investigators uncovered evidence that confirmed Emily Kaye had not simply vanished. The recovery inside the bungalow was so disturbing that the case instantly became front-page news. But the essential point, stated without sensationalism, is this: police found clear evidence that Emily had died there and that extensive steps had been taken to conceal the crime. Investigators then began assembling the larger pattern. They looked at Mahon's movements. They examined the names he had used. They traced letters and statements made before the trip to Sussex. They studied financial dealings between the two. Prosecutors later argued that Emily had given Mahon significant sums of money and that the relationship had been shaped by deceit long before they ever reached the coast. An invoice for items bought before Emily's death also became important. To the prosecution, that purchase helped show preparation. To the defense, it was something to be explained away. The jury would decide which version made sense. Another important figure in the case was Sir Bernard Spilsbury, one of the best-known forensic pathologists in Britain at the time. His evidence gave the Crown's case additional force. Contemporary reports show that his testimony challenged Mahon's account and supported the prosecution's argument that the death could not be dismissed as a simple accident. For the public, that testimony reinforced the sense that science was now playing a larger role in major murder trials. When the case came to trial at Lewes Assizes on 15 July 1924, it drew heavy attention. The presiding judge was Mr. Justice Avery. The chief prosecutor was Sir Henry Curtis Bennett. Mahon was defended by J.D. Castles. This was not a minor local hearing. It was a closely watched case in which the character of the accused, the expectations of the victim, the physical evidence, and the sequence of events were all examined in detail. Mahon pleaded not guilty. He maintained that Emily's death was not murder. That point was consistent with the line reported at the time of charge and with the defense approach during the trial. But the prosecution laid out a different picture. A man living under false identities, drawing money from a woman who trusted him, bringing her to a remote bungalow under false hopes, and then trying to erase both the person and the evidence. The court heard about Emily's plans, Mahon's aliases, his contradictory statements, and the items linked to the bungalow. It heard about what police found after the arrest at Waterloo. It heard about conduct before and after Emily disappeared. Piece by piece, the Crown built the argument that this was not an accident covered up in panic, but a calculated act followed by concealment. The defense, meanwhile, tried to keep the jury focused on uncertainty around the exact moment of death. If there was room for accident, then the charge of murder might fail. That was the opening they needed. The jury was not persuaded. On 19 July 1924, Patrick Mahon was found guilty of the murder of Emily Beilby Kaye and sentenced to death. Later reporting shows that an appeal did not save him. He was executed at Wandsworth Prison on 3 September 1924. Legally, the case ended there. Historically, it did not. The Patrick Mahon case remained fixed in British true crime memory because it brought together so many elements that unsettled the public. The lonely bungalow on the coast, the promise of romance and emigration, the false identities, the luggage at Waterloo, the courtroom clash over accident versus intention, and the cold contrast between outward respectability and hidden violence. But when all of that is stripped away, one fact matters more than the notoriety. Emily Kaye trusted the wrong man, and the future she believed she was walking toward never arrived. That may be why this case still lingers. Not because of courtroom drama alone, not because of headlines alone, but because it reminds us how easily a carefully performed version of respectability can hide manipulation, greed, and control. On the Sussex coast, the bungalow is long gone as a living crime scene, and the trial belongs to history. Yet the central question still feels immediate. How well do we really know the people who ask us to trust them with our future? And in the silence, after all the newspaper noise has faded, that may be the most haunting part of the story.